Imagine this. You're sitting in a cafe, the noise of the world muffled behind the soft hum of conversation. And next to you, someone speaks, not to fill the silence, but to let it be. There's a presence in that stillness, a calm, a certainty. And in that moment, you realize something profound. Silence isn't emptiness. It's a form of strength. In a world that rewards noise, the one who chooses silence stands apart. Not out of fear, not out of weakness, but out of discipline. Stoicism teaches us that the most powerful form of action doesn't always come with sound. It comes from restraint, from reflection, from choosing what truly deserves your voice and what doesn't. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." Silence is a way of reclaiming that control. It's the pause before the decision, the breath before the breakthrough. Success, as the Stoics understood it, is not about applause. It's not about making waves to be seen. It's about depth, about alignment, about doing the right thing, not the loud thing. This video is not just about staying quiet. It's about learning how silence becomes a tool of clarity, a shield of wisdom, and a strategy for long-term success. You're going to discover 7 powerful reasons why silence is not only your ally, but your secret weapon. Because this is your life, your path, and sometimes the loudest progress happens in the quietest places. So if you're ready to reconnect with your inner strength, to rise above the noise, and to lead yourself, not by shouting, but by standing firm, this is your moment. Let's begin. Reason 1. Silence anchors you in the present. Silence is not an absence. It is a presence, a deep-rooted awareness that draws you fully into the now. In a world that constantly pulls your attention forward into anxiety or backward into regret, silence becomes your lifeline to the present moment. It is not just quiet, it is clarity, stillness, a place where your thoughts can settle and your soul can breathe. Think about the last time you sat in silence, no music, no conversation, no scrolling, just you. In that space, even if it felt unfamiliar, there was a truth gently waiting to surface. That is the power of presence, and silence is the gateway to it. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He wasn't being poetic, he was being practical. Because when you return to yourself in silence, you remove the chaos that clouds judgment, and you sharpen your perception of what actually matters. Why does this matter for success? Because success is not just built on action. It's built on awareness. You can't respond wisely to life if you're not present in it. Silence trains you to slow down your inner world so that your next move is intentional, not reactive. And in a distracted society, the person who can remain centered has a rare and powerful edge. Let's take a simple metaphor. A skilled archer doesn't shoot in chaos. He waits, breathes, centers himself. Only then does he release. That pause, that stillness, is what separates precision from waste. Silence for you is that same pause. It grounds you in reality. It removes noise. It makes you deliberate. Even in conversation, silence holds power. When you stop speaking, you start hearing. Not just the words, but the subtext, the emotion, the tension, the fear. You begin to listen, not to reply, but to understand. And in that understanding, you gain an advantage, not over others, but over yourself. You master your reactions. You see more clearly. You choose more wisely. In today's world, silence is rare. And what is rare is often valuable. So the next time you feel the urge to fill the air, to speak quickly, or to rush to the next thing, pause. Breathe. Reclaim the moment. That's your edge. That's your power. In silence, you're no longer behind or ahead. You are here. And here is where all true power begins. Reason 2. Silence builds unshakable inner confidence. There is a quiet strength in a man who does not need to explain himself. You've likely met someone like this. They don't dominate the conversation. They don't brag or compete for attention. Yet somehow, when they speak, everyone listens. Why? Because their confidence doesn't come from noise. It comes from silence. True confidence is internal. It's not a show you put on. It's a foundation you build within. Stoicism teaches this principle with clarity. As Epictetus once said, "It is not he who reviles or strikes you who insults you, but your opinion that these things are insulting." The Stoic believes that inner security cannot be granted by the crowd, nor can it be taken away by criticism or praise. Your worth is not up for public debate. It's something you define for yourself, in solitude, with honesty. Silence is where that self-definition begins. In the absence of external voices, you begin to hear your own. When you're not performing for approval, you start practicing authenticity. And when you stop justifying your every step, you begin trusting yourself to walk forward. Consider this: the person who over-explains is often uncertain, but the one who stands silently meets the moment with calm and simply responds when it's time. That's the person others see as grounded, composed, reliable. And that's not a performance, it's real. Think of a mountain. It doesn't speak, but it commands respect. Why? Because it's immovable. It knows what it is. In the same way, silence builds a similar stillness within you. Each time you resist the urge to prove yourself, you're reinforcing the idea that you don't have to, that your value is inherent, not negotiated. There's a powerful story from the battlefield of Stoic philosophy, not a literal one, but a mental war. Imagine a young Roman soldier, mocked by his peers for not boasting about his victories. One day, during an ambush, while others panicked, he calmly took command and led them to safety. His silence was not weakness. It was preparation. He didn't need to speak. He had been building his clarity in the quiet. This is what silence gives you: a deeper awareness of your own abilities, a sharper instinct, and most importantly, the kind of self-confidence that doesn't shake when the world pushes against you. Confidence rooted in silence is not about ignoring your flaws. It's about knowing them and still trusting yourself anyway. That kind of acceptance makes you untouchable. Not arrogant, not loud, but strong. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do. That's not detachment. That's power. The power of internal focus. The power of building self-worth that doesn't need validation to exist. So the next time you feel the urge to explain, to overcompensate, to prove yourself, try something different. Try silence. Let your stillness be your signal. Let your calm be your command. And let your confidence grow in the quiet where no one is watching. because that's where the strongest version of you is formed. Reason 3. Silence helps you create, not just perform. True creation begins in stillness, not in applause, not in performance. In the quiet space where there is no need to impress, only a desire to express something honest from within. You've likely felt this before, that deep, inward moment where an idea took shape, not because you broadcasted it, but because you gave it the space to grow. That's the power of silence. It doesn't just help you work harder, it helps you create deeper. Stoic philosophy teaches this restraint as wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In the same way, waste no more time trying to prove you're creative. Just create. Let the result, not the performance, speak. When you remove the pressure to be seen, you begin to see clearly. Modern life pulls you into performance mode. Post that update. Show that progress. Prove you're moving forward. But real movement, meaningful creation, doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens when no one is watching, when the only audience is your own conscience. Consider the artist in solitude, the writer who drafts 10 chapters that no one reads, the entrepreneur refining a vision in silence. Their greatest leaps don't come from external praise. They come from the internal permission to explore without fear of judgment. Silence is not the absence of activity. It is the environment in which the right activity can unfold. It is the mental stillness where bold, imaginative thoughts have room to breathe, free from the noise of comparison or the distortion of validation. Seneca once said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." And creating, in its purest form, is how we learn ourselves. But when you create only to be noticed, you bypass the lesson. Silence shifts your focus from the outer world to the inner one, where truth resides, where meaning is made. In silence, your ideas mature before they meet the world. You develop not only the skill to build, but the discernment to know what's worth building. You become a craftsman, not just a performer. And that makes your work stronger, more authentic, and more timeless. So when you feel the urge to speak your plans aloud, pause. Let your silence build something real. Not for applause, not for attention, but because you're choosing the Stoic path, the deeper path, of mastery over momentary praise. Because when the world finally sees your creation, they'll feel something they didn't expect. Depth, weight, intention. And they'll wonder where it came from. But you'll know. It came from the quiet. Reason 4. Silence is the ultimate filter for distractions. In a world saturated with noise, silence becomes your sanctuary. You wake up and before your feet hit the floor, your phone lights up with notifications, messages, updates, opinions, headlines, each one demanding a piece of your mind. And so your day begins, not with intention, but with reaction. This is the silent crisis of our age. Distraction masquerading as urgency. But silence, when chosen deliberately, is your rebellion, your refuge. It's where you regain control over what enters your mind, and more importantly, what stays there. Silence allows you to turn inward and ask, what actually matters today? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This wasn't just poetic reflection. It was a strategy. The Stoics knew that most of the chaos we experience doesn't come from the world, but from the noise we invite into our inner space. And when you embrace silence, you create a filter, a way to separate signal from noise, the meaningful from the meaningless. Think of it like clearing a cluttered desk. Only then can you sit down and actually do the work that matters. Silence is how you declutter your mental workspace. It's how you sharpen your attention to a fine edge. Without silence, your energy is scattered. With silence, it becomes focused. When you stop constantly reacting to every buzz, beep, and bit of gossip, something extraordinary happens. Your thoughts deepen, your focus strengthens, and your work begins to reflect the richness of an undistracted mind. Take the example of Leonardo da Vinci. He was notoriously private, often vanishing into long stretches of silent solitude. But it was during those silent periods that he produced ideas and innovations centuries ahead of his time. He wasn't hiding. He was filtering, preserving the integrity of his thoughts from the noise of the world. This is what silence offers you. A chance to become selective. You begin to realize that not every opinion needs your attention. Not every comment requires your response, and not every update adds value to your life. In silence, you become more deliberate about what you consume, what you believe, and what you pursue. The world will always try to pull you in 1,000 directions. But when you cultivate silence, you anchor yourself to what truly matters. Your goals, your values, your growth. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, step away. Step into silence. Let it sift the chaos from your clarity, because in silence you don't just hear less, you see more. You see what deserves your focus, your energy, and your time. And that clarity, it's not just peaceful, it's powerful. Reason 5, silence strengthens emotional discipline. When the storms of emotion arise, silence becomes your anchor. Imagine you're caught in a sudden wave of anger. Perhaps someone's words cut deeper than you expected, or an old frustration flares up without warning. In that moment, your impulse might be to speak first, lash out, or defend yourself. But Stoicism teaches that real power lies in restraint. Silence gives you the fraction of a second you need to choose your response, rather than react in turmoil. Epictetus reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you practice silence, you aren't ignoring your feelings. You're granting yourself space to feel them without being consumed by them. That pause is where emotional discipline is forged. You begin to recognize the difference between a fleeting impulse and a carefully considered choice. Over time, those moments of stillness transform you from someone at the mercy of emotions into someone who commands them. Silence exposes the patterns of your mind. In a quiet mind, emotions become visible rather than overwhelming. You might notice that anxiety always precedes a particular trigger, or that frustration follows specific unmet expectations. By observing these patterns in the silence, you gain self-awareness. You learn which thoughts fan the flames of anger, which doubts fuel insecurity, and which beliefs undermine your confidence. That knowledge is your roadmap for change. Consider the story of Marcus Aurelius on the battlefield. When facing chaos and danger, he didn't shout orders in panic. He would pause, center his thoughts, and then speak with measured calm, an example that inspired his troops. His silence under pressure reflected an emotional discipline so complete that even his own fears were tempered. You can mirror this by allowing silence to temper your own emotional responses in everyday life. Quiet discipline becomes a source of inner calm. Seneca counseled, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." When you choose silence over an immediate outburst, you avoid saying things that you'll later regret. You prevent small irritations from snowballing into conflicts that damage relationships or derail your focus. Each time you hold your tongue in the face of provocation, you build a muscle of restraint. That muscle grows stronger with practice, becoming an instinct rather than a struggle. Imagine a modern example. You receive an unfair critique at work. Your heart races, and your first impulse is to defend or attack. Instead, you take a deep breath and remain silent. In that quiet moment, you gather your thoughts. Is there truth here? Can I learn from this? Then, when you speak, you respond not in defensiveness but in thoughtful clarity, turning potential conflict into an opportunity for growth and demonstrating true leadership. Silence invites perspective and compassion. By pausing before you speak, you create the space to see others' viewpoints. You might discover that someone's harsh words mask their own fear or insecurity. Silence fosters empathy, allowing you to respond with understanding rather than judgment. This shift strengthens your emotional intelligence and deepens your connections. Stoic wisdom emphasizes that we share common humanity. As Musonius Rufus taught, the point is not to live well, but to live rightly. Living rightly often means choosing quiet patience over reckless emotion. In moments when you might feel misunderstood or wronged, silence guards your integrity. It signals that you are listening first to yourself and to others before asserting your own narrative. That open-hearted stillness builds respect and trust far more than any forceful argument ever could. Your journey toward emotional mastery begins with a single pause. Every time you replace an impulsive reaction with even a few seconds of silence, you graduate from mere survival to thoughtful response. You shift from being driven by emotion to being guided by principle. Over weeks and months, those silent beats of discipline accumulate into an unshakable calm that carries you through life's most turbulent moments. So, the next time your emotions threaten to overthrow your composure, remember, silence is not surrender. It is strategy. It is strength. It is the practice that transforms raw feelings into refined character. By embracing the power of silence, you forge the emotional discipline that underpins lasting success, genuine confidence, and a life lived with unwavering integrity. Reason 6. Silence aligns you with intrinsic motivation. When you retreat into silence, you peel away the external applause and find the heartbeat of your own purpose. Imagine working on a goal without concern for likes, comments, or public recognition. You're guided not by the crowd, but by the quiet conviction that the work itself is meaningful. In that space of stillness, you discover your truest motivator, the inner drive to become better, to master a craft, and to honor your own values, regardless of who's watching. Stoic philosophy celebrates this inner source of motivation. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. When you embrace silence, you create the mental stage to rehearse your thinking in alignment with your deepest goals. You no longer chase external rewards. You generate your own momentum from the satisfaction of progress. Silence dissolves the glare of the spotlight and reveals your true compass. In a culture addicted to instant feedback, you may find yourself constantly seeking approval. Each notification can feel like a test of worth. But in silence, you learn to listen to a different voice, the one that says, "I do this because it matters to me." That realization shifts your focus from fleeting praise to enduring purpose. Consider the tale of a sculptor who worked day after day in a dimly lit studio, carving marble without fanfare. No gallery crowds, no critical reviews, just the rhythmic sound of chisel on stone. Over months or years, the sculptor's dedication was rewarded not by applause, but by the quiet revelation of beauty hidden within the raw material. His joy came from the process itself, not from the momentary reaction of an audience. In that silence, his motivation was pure and self-sustaining. Epictetus reminds us, first learn the meaning of what you say and then speak. Apply that to action. First learn your own meaning, then act. Silence is your learning ground. It gives you time to reflect on why you do what you do, whether it's writing, building a business, training your body, or forging relationships. When your why is clear, the how becomes a matter of integrity rather than a performance. Intrinsic motivation is not just stronger, it's more resilient. External validation can be fickle. Trends shift, opinions change. But when you discover that the reward lies in the journey, when each step forward brings its own quiet gratification, you build a motivation that weathers disappointment and discouragement. Silence steals your resolve by rooting your effort in personal conviction. Seneca observed, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." In the practice of silence, you learn to enjoy each moment of progress, the small victories in practice sessions, drafts, or training sets, without needing someone else to notice. That removes the anxiety of outcome and replaces it with the calm satisfaction of engagement. Think of a musician practicing scales for hours alone, no stage, no audience. At times it feels tedious, yet each repetition brings subtle improvement. The satisfaction comes not from applause, but from the internal sense of mastery inching forward. This is intrinsic motivation in action, born in silence, sustained by self-respect. When you align with intrinsic motivation, you act from authenticity. Your projects become expressions of your values rather than marketing tactics. Your success measures itself in personal growth rather than in follower counts. And your satisfaction derives from being true to yourself, not from fitting a mold prescribed by others. Imagine a writer who publishes without checking analytics for weeks. Their joy springs from the act of writing, of finding the right phrase, untangling a complex idea, and discovering the power of a well-turned sentence. In silence, they reconnect with the unspoken promise they made to themselves to tell stories that matter, regardless of reviews. Silence also protects your creative fire from burnout. When you're constantly chasing external approval, the pressure to perform can stifle innovation. You push for quantity over quality, for visibility over depth. But in silence, you slow down, you reflect, and you prioritize the work that truly resonates. You guard your energy by choosing only the projects that feed your soul, rather than those that feed your ego. As Marcus Aurelius counseled, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Let silence be the impediment you welcome, transforming distraction into focus, noise into insight. In that inner quiet, you find the pathway to your deepest aspirations. Your journey toward lasting success begins with a single quiet moment. Today, carve out a space for silence. Let your phone rest. Let the world's clamor fade. Tune into your own heartbeat, your own reasons for striving. Listen for your unique motivation and let it guide you forward. When you anchor yourself in intrinsic purpose, you become unstoppable, not because the world praises you, but because you've already rewarded yourself. In that stillness, you discover that silence is not the absence of success. It is its most powerful source. Reason 7. Silence lets your results speak louder than words. There's profound power in quiet achievement. You don't need to shout about your progress or parade every milestone for the world to see. True success isn't measured by how many times you announce it. It's felt in the ripple effects your work creates quietly around you. Silence is the canvas upon which results paint their own portrait. When you step out of the spotlight and let your actions speak, you invite others to witness your integrity, dedication, and skill, unfiltered by self-promotion. Instead of crafting narratives about your success, you build it in real time. Each completed task, each problem solved, each goal reached adds brushstrokes to the masterpiece of your character. Seneca once observed, "We should not, like sheep, follow the herd, but be led by truth." In a culture that often rewards the loudest voice, choosing silence is a deliberate decision to be led by truth. Your own truth of effort and excellence. And when truth is your guide, your results become undeniable. They carry a clarity and authenticity that no hashtag or spotlight can replicate. Imagine two paths, one brightly lit by self-promotion, the other quietly paved by steady work. The first path dazzles momentarily, capturing attention, but often fades as the next spectacle arrives. The second path, though less flashy, withstands the test of time. Each step you take builds on the last, forging a solid foundation of capability. This is the path of silence, the path where progress compounds without interruption, without the need for constant commentary. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Applying this principle, you focus not on telling others what you're doing, but on ensuring that what you're doing is right and true. Your results, therefore, need no embellishment. They speak for themselves in the quality you deliver and the impact you create. Consider the modern-day example of an entrepreneur who refuses to hype every product launch. Rather than flood social media with teasers and promises, they quietly refine their offerings, patiently gathering feedback, iterating in private. Then, when the product finally reaches the market, it meets a need so precisely that users become its ambassadors, spreading the word organically. The entrepreneur's silence wasn't absence, it was strategic reserve, channeling energy into excellence rather than empty noise. Silence also cultivates humility. When you're not busy broadcasting your intentions, you stay humble in the face of success. Humility doesn't mean hiding your achievements. It means recognizing that external accolades are transient, and true worth lies in consistent integrity and service. Humility undercuts ego and invites genuine respect. Epictetus taught, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Likewise, success in silence consists not in having endless praise, but in achieving work that fulfills your purpose. When your wants remain internal, striving for mastery, growth, contribution, your results naturally align with what matters most. And when you share those results only when necessary, they resonate far more deeply. Silence becomes a filter for authenticity. In a world rife with marketing spin and inflated claims, quiet achievers stand out through consistency. Their track record becomes their reputation. Others begin to trust their work because it's proven, not proclaimed, and that trust blossoms into opportunities. partnerships, referrals, deeper collaborations, without the need for loud self-advocacy. What does it feel like to let silence carry your success? It feels like walking with your head held straight, eyes forward, not darting around seeking approval. It feels like the calm assurance that you're on the right path because you see the progress step by step, not because you monitor others' reactions. It feels like freedom from the exhausting cycle of validation chasing and the clarity that comes from self-trust. Your invitation today is simple. Decide on one project or area of your life where you've been more focused on talking about progress than making it. Then shift your energy from announcement to action. In the next week, let your progress be silent. Track it privately. Reflect on it in your journal. And when it's ready, let the results unfurl in their own time. Observe how others respond, not to your claims, but to your capability. Notice how your own confidence rises when you're driven by accomplishment, not applause. Experience the quiet pride of knowing you've done the work without having to say so. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In the noisy world of self-promotion, your silence and your results become a testament to a different standard, a standard of genuine excellence, unshakable character, and authentic impact. Let your work be your voice. Let your success be your statement, and let silence be the stage upon which your legacy quietly but powerfully unfolds. Conclusion. Embrace silence. Unlock your success. You've discovered how silence is far more than the absence of sound. It's the forge in which your focus, confidence, creativity, discipline, purpose, and results coalesce into genuine success. By anchoring yourself in the present, strengthening your inner resolve, and filtering out distractions, you build a foundation that no external noise can shake. Imagine carrying this silent power into every aspect of your life. Each decision becomes more intentional. Each challenge meets your calm strength. Each victory speaks without fanfare, echoing quietly in the impact you create and the growth you experience. Your next step is simple. Begin today. Carve out moments of silence. Practice pausing before reacting. Focus on the work itself, not the applause. Over time, you'll feel the transformation as your inner voice grows stronger and your progress becomes unmistakable. If this resonates with you, subscribe to the Stoic Philosophy. Share in the comments which reason most moved you and how you plan to incorporate more silence into your journey. Your story may inspire someone else to discover the power within their own quiet moments. Stay grounded, stay silent, and let your success speak for itself.